All right, another Sunday is here. Good evening and welcome to Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television. Iron Port is proudly brought to you by the Ghana Revenue Authority, Guel PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, and indeed Phoenix Insurance. The show is proudly powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority-GPHA, and our media partner on this journey of lifetime is the Business and Financial Times, the BNFT. If you want to have a grasp of all that transpired in the show tonight, make a date and grab the Thursday edition of the BNFT, and you'll be able to see all that happened here on the show. We are streaming live on our social media pages. On Facebook, we are live at Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Still on Facebook, we are live at Port of Tema. And on YouTube, we are streaming live at Iron Port Ghana. Iron Port Ghana. We shall be getting interactive with you as usual. And so all you have to do is sit back, relax, grab your phones, and then send us your messages and comments via our dedicated WhatsApp line, which is 0559 019 177. 0559 019 177. Now, when the time is ripe and I pick signals from the production team, we shall activate the phone lines for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. My name is Kennedy Mona. We are going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue the show. Please stay with us.
Guys, now I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really? Okay, I come.
Shut up!
Mame, Boss, fill my tank with Super XP Raw 95.
Fill up with Super XP Raw 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from Goyle.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him. Hey, go for mommy.
Choose Super XP Raw 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for Goyle Super XP Raw 95. Goyle, good energy.
Goyle is good energy. Electricity. Then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifu, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance Motor Policy. Currently, my goods are on the high seas, covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance. Oh, Ajima, tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life
can be like the sea sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302-246-319 or 0243-690-492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
All right, so welcome back. We are now going to take a look at happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of the week. And indeed, in the course of the week, officials from car manufacturing firm Isuzu paid a working visit to the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, and during the deliberations, it came to light that they are keen on establishing in Ghana. Plus the fact that the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority is also admonishing the generality of the Ghanaian people to abstain or stay away from alcohol and drug abuse. Let's take a look at these stories and more.
Vehicle manufacturing company Isuzu Motors is considering scaling up its operations in the ECOWAS region and is currently considering Ghana and another country in the sub-region as its main manufacturing hub in West Africa. One of the key requirements is a modern port that can efficiently and effectively handle their logistics and supply chain needs. Consequently, a team of directors and senior managers from Isuzu South Africa has visited Ghana on a fact-finding mission. They paid a visit to the management of the port of Tema, where they discussed potential areas of collaboration. A supply chain executive at Isuzu Motors South Africa, Tony Pena, said his outfit looks to Ghana as a strategic nation for investments in the automotive industry and is eager to see the role Ghana's port could play in this ambition.
The purpose of our visit here is to understand the operations of the Ghana port as we look to develop relations into West Africa and also develop networks to be able to distribute our product and components into these markets. So what we're primarily looking for in partners as we look in these areas is to have an efficient operation which is not only world-class in terms of efficiencies, but is also competitive from a price perspective as we move product through these markets.
The director of Port Tema, Sandra Opoku, said the Port Authority is ready to consider customers on a case-by-case basis in terms of incentives in a bid to serve them satisfactorily.
Before, they've been sending some vehicles to Ghana already since 2016, and they haven't had any issues using Tema Port. But currently, what they want to do is to come and actually set up shop in Ghana, which is on a bigger scale than what they were doing before. And as a Port Authority, we are ready to give them all the necessary support and also facilitate their coming in.
The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority continues to demonstrate its commitment to the health and physique of staff. The authority this year has resumed its quarterly health walks with a special call on the port community to shun the use of illicit drugs and alcohol abuse in their daily activities. The regular 3-kilometer walk and aerobic session was complemented by a health talk by medical officers of GPH's Health Services Department.
I spoke about the lifestyle diseases, mainly hypertension, diabetes, and high cholesterol. And we realized that this is causing a lot of complications to our clients, patients, and people around. And as part of that, that is why we had this walk, so that we will keep physically fit to prevent some of these complications on our body.
To summarize, I think we gave a good message to the workers of the port about exposing themselves, use of substances, sometimes known and unknown, in drinks, in bread or baked goods from the market, teas that they are preparing. We warn them of the dangers and of the no tolerance of drug abuse policy that the Port HR has taken up now. We give them really strong warnings that if they are found out, the consequences may be dire.
The director of Ports, Sandra Opoku, who joined the health work, commended the initiative and threw a challenge to staff to remain consistent in their fitness routine.
I've been sitting at my desk for a long time, so this is a wake-up call for myself, that the 30 minutes a day, even if it's 3 times a week, you have to do it. Sometimes you start giddy during the year, and then by March, you fizzle out. but let's be consistent and keep it up.
All right, so those were happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of the week. We are now going to go global and pick a few stories from the international scene.
The International Chamber of Shipping, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and the Republic of Liberia have submitted a detailed fit-for-purpose proposal to shipping's global regulator, the International Maritime Organization, for a zero-emission shipping fund. In recognition of the urgency to move forward with workable solutions to meet ambitious zero-net targets, ship owners globally have agreed to mandatory contributions on ships' greenhouse gas emissions to raise billions of dollars annually. The purpose is to accelerates the transition by the global commercial shipping fleet to net zero emissions by 2050 to support the maritime greenhouse gas reduction efforts of developing countries. Vital Bunkers and its logistics arm, V-Bunkers, have teamed up with Denmark-based tech company Zero North to enhance the efficiency of the bunkering process in Singapore through digitalization. Vital Bunkers, based in Singapore, will be among the first suppliers to embrace the use of an electronic bunker delivery note, which will eventually replace the physical documents that are currently still required. Zero North is one of the few companies that have been approved by Singapore's Maritime and Port Authority to provide this service.
All right, so it's now time for us to take the word or phrase of the day. And remember, the word or phrase of the day has been fashioned to bring you up to speed with the terminologies and jargons we use in the shipping industry. Today's word is daily running cost. Daily running cost.
Daily running cost refers to cost per day of operating a ship.
All right, so welcome back. We're now zooming into our discussion proper tonight. And tonight we're taking a look at the time release study which has been conducted by the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority. Now, the time release study actually talks about what time it takes for you to clear your imports from the port. It deals with the airports, the seaports, as well as the borders. And this has come about as a result of a requirement, I believe, from the World Customs Organization, for customs administrations to be able to gauge the time they spend, in the clearance chain. What time does it take? How long does it take for you to be able to get your release from customs? We've had a look at the study. It makes interesting reading and learning, and so we've had to assemble a team from the Ghana Revenue Authority who have actually worked on this particular document to tell us more about it and what it entails. We are told that it's also part of efforts to identify bottlenecks, ingrained in the clearance chain, so that these bottlenecks can be removed as much as they can, so we can have some fluidity in terms of clearing of goods from the port. So it gives me pleasure this evening to introduce to us, we have three Chief Revenue Officers. When I say CRO, it means Chief Revenue Officer. So to my extreme left is Chief Revenue Officer, Mr. Smile Agbemenu, who's no stranger to Iron Port. He's been here on several occasions. Now, he's a technical chairman, the Time Release Study Project, Customs Division, Ghana Revenue Authority. Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
Awesome. And to my immediate left, we have Chief Revenue Officer Dinah Ayoko Agbenyega, who's also Project Manager, Time Release Study, Customs Division, GRA. Good evening, ma'am. Welcome. Awesome. And then last but not the least, to my right is Chief Revenue Officer Veronica Abuaji, who is also the Stakeholder Manager, Time Release Study, Customs Division, Ghana Revenue Authority. Good evening, ma'am, and welcome.
Good evening.
So I would not be out of order to say Happy New Year to us all.
Thank you. Many happy returns.
Awesome. And welcome to the show. Let me begin with Diana, and then find out from you if you can just give us a brief overview of what actually necessitated the time release study by the Customs Division of the GRA.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
We bring you greetings from the top management of the GRA and from the Customs Division. So to your question, the Customs Times Release Study is a project which we undertook. And as you may be aware, projects are usually triggered by several factors. And in our case, we had the time release study in our strategic plan 3, the GRA strategic plan 3, the goal 4, which requires us to improve on our administrative efficiency. We also had another trigger, which is an international requirement, because we had acceded to the trade facilitation agreement of the WTO in the year 2017.
Right.
And 5 years down the line, it was not out of order for us to initiate the study. So those were the main triggers, and Article 7.6 requires that we publish our time of doing business, and we do it in a consistent manner. So those were the main triggers. We didn't have any pressure from any organization. However, we had support from the World Customs Organization. They gave us the technical support which we required, and we asked for it. And also, we had support from the Ministry of Trade. We also had support from some donors who gave us, and even the private sector. We had all the collaboration to be able to do the study. So there wasn't a pressure. It was just time for us to do it.
Yeah. How long did it take you to put it together?
So basically, we launched the project officially 6th of September 2022.
Right.
And we concluded by November 2023 in
Right.
terms of the report writing and everything. So we're done by that time.
Okay. All right, let me come to Vero and find out from you. I'm sure prior to the rolling out or the commissioning of this particular study, you had held stakeholder engagements and all that just to get a buy-in of those that you work with, at the various borders, seaports and airports and all that. When you met them, what were some of the issues that came up? Were they willing to embrace this particular policy or this particular study that you were going to undertake? Or you experienced some element of resistance, which is quite typical of us, and particularly for our industry?
Thank you, Bernard.
Kennedy. Bernard is a politician.
Thank you, Kennedy.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let me take this opportunity to thank all our stakeholders for their immense contribution to this study. So the stakeholders, both internal and external, the donors, the other government agencies, they have been a very good help to this study.
Okay. So, Vera, I'm told you have to, this is your camera, the light is on, so you speak into it. Yeah.
We started this program by identifying the stakeholders that we have to work with. After we're able to identify them, we did the pre-kickoff.
Right.
The pre-kickoff was done to introduce the project to them and to get their buy-in.
Right.
After that, we did the stakeholder mapping to situate their roles into the clearance process and see how their activity will impact the study.
Right.
After the stakeholder mapping, then we did the kickoff. That's the launch of the TRS. We have done so many activities with them: the data collection, the data validation, the reporting, and everything.
Right.
And so far, the stakeholders have been so good to us. There was no resistance, and we have been able to carry them through up to this stage of the project.
Awesome. Awesome. I'll be coming to you, Mr. Agwemenu, but let me go back to Diana and find out from you what some of the key objectives of this particular study was, or is, so to speak.
So basically, key objective was to be able to identify bottlenecks that impede on the clearance processes and to make recommendations to address them. And we also had other objectives like to be able to establish the time of clearance of goods from the time it arrives up to when it is exited from customs control. And we chose locations, Tema seaports, Aflao land border, the KIA, that's the airport, and then the PAGA land border. And we also had to measure the time it takes for regulatory requirements to be obtained by from other government agencies. Yes. So the LPCOs, the licenses, permits, certificates, and other requirements. And we also had to establish the baseline for clearing of goods, because we haven't done that before. Right. We didn't have any empirical evidence so far. So it was also to have the baseline data for time of clearance of goods. So those are the key ones I can mention for now.
All right, okay. So let me come to Smile and find out from you, if you can walk us through a typical day in the life of a customs official in the clearance chain. What practical role do you actually play, during the process as customs?
So customs, just as any customs administration globally, performs this mandate in accordance with law. So we perform our mandate within the law section, Customs Act 2015 Act 891. Within that one requires treatment of shipment pre-arrival, on arrival, and post-arrival. Now, your question centered largely on arrival. So when the vessel or the means of conveyance arrives, depending on where the arrival is happening, it could be at the airport, it could be at the land border, or it could be at the seaport. These are the three major arriving points in Ghana. So when a vessel arrives, say for the case of, say, Port of Tema, and we ensure that cargo that has been discharged from the vessel is properly taken into inventory. So taken into inventory, I mean it is put into the designated warehouse for further processing. Then it's expected that a customs declaration is submitted. When the declaration is submitted, is to declare your intention, telling us that you have this consignment for clearance, and then it is being cleared into a particular regime. It could be for import into home use, or for a transit. It could also be for storage in a bonded warehouse. It could be for several procedures. So when you submit the declaration, it undergoes verification. The verification requires we confirming your classification code for the product, then the value that had been acquired. When we do all those verifications, again, we also look at the procedure to see if you have entered the product or the consignment into the appropriate customs procedure. When that one is done, then we approve your declaration, then which comes back to you for you to accept or to object to our decision. In the event that you accept to our decision, then you proceed to fulfill financial obligations. If it is for revenue payment, you proceed to do payment of revenue. If it is for securing a form of guarantee because you are not paying the revenue in the first instance, then you proceed to do that. Once you have done that, then you go to the port to take delivery of goods. But of course that these things are done together with other agencies, international and national. So at the port, most likely will be the national regulatory agencies or other government agencies. So when you go to the port, depending on the product that or the goods you are bringing, if it is a regulated goods, then Dana mentioned earlier that we have regulatory requirements. It is our mandate within the law to ensure that you have acquired this permit, certificate, license, or any other document so required for the clearance of the goods. And then depending on the risks that have been assigned to the goods, it is either that will not do any form of intrusive examination, or that will be required for you to remove or unstuff the goods from the container for us to do an inspection of the goods.
That's when the risk management system
That is
comes
when
to
the
play.
risk management comes to play. And this is done because we have a national risk management committee and team that determines how goods that are coming in or out of the country is profiled for processing at the port. So if it is requiring inspection, depending on the type of inspection, inspection is conducted together with other government agencies, and then the cargo is taking delivery out of port.
Right.
So our mandate is intertwined with that of the regulatory or other government agencies to ensure that we meet the legal requirements and regulations for the delivery of the goods out of customs charge.
All right, so I'm still staying with you, and I would want to ask, there seems to be some element of disparities in the study. For instance, that's with respect to clearance of cargo within the same location. You made mention in the study that, for instance, at the MPS Terminal 3, it takes like some 8 days after berthing to be able to clear your goods. And within the same enclave, that's the Tema enclave, you have others where you indicate that you can use 1 day, and others as much as 53 days. Why is there this kind of disparity?
Okay, so basically, as you would agree that even if you yourself, you are supposed to have a team to move from, let's say, this particular location to another location, you are not expecting that everybody, even though you have started the same time, will arrive at the destination the same time. But then you are looking at, on the average, how many people have arrived. So let's say everybody has arrived at the place, and you look at the average time. So what we did was to have sampled a number of transactions at these locations. So Dana mentioned earlier that our scope was within the port of Tema, the port of Tema, KIA, Aplau land border, and Paga. So when we come to the port of Tema, we focused clearance at the Meridian Port Service Terminal, that is MPS 3. We focused that on Safe-Born Terminal, that is where the vehicles are cleared from.
Yes.
And then that for Golden Jubilee,
yes.
For containerized cargoes that are not to be cleared at the MPS port.
Right.
When we get to MPS port itself, we sampled 402 transactions. So when we look at the 402 transactions, there are so many factors that could lead to a particular transaction being cleared very early or delayed in clearance. So we mentioned earlier that there are some regulatory requirements as well. So for example, if you take advantage of trade facilitation provisions that we have made, where you have submitted declaration to customs, you have taken decision on your consignment, and you have fulfilled all the regulatory requirements prior to arrival of the cargo, then very likely, if you are a compliant trader, then when your goods come, it will not be subjected to any physical inspection.
Right.
You are likely to take your goods very early enough. The same vein, at the same location, you may delay in submitting your declarations to customs. And then when processing is done, or you delayed in acquiring the regulatory requirements, when all these things have been delayed, then it is most likely that your clearance would also delay.
Right.
So if you look at what we have sampled, there were cases where people have taken advantage of the trade facilitation provisions that the new system has given.
Right.
So they submitted declaration.
When you say new system, you're referring to ICOMS?
The Integrated Customs
Yes,
Management
ICOMS,
System,
yeah,
which we use in our ICOMS.
Right.
They submitted declaration and fulfilled all the regulatory requirements prior to arrival of the vessel. And depending on the selectivity, then it is either they go to the port and take delivery. So for those ones, they were quick clearance.
Right.
But for those that had delayed in submitting declaration, delayed in fulfilling regulatory requirements, it also delayed the clearance.
Right.
There were certain cases where the cargo had even arrived discharged and has stayed in our facility for quite a long time before they performed all these, they made all these fulfillments. Because of those ones, it actually delayed.
Right.
That is why you saw that case of the delay report. That is maximum. The minimum one was cases where they had done all those ones.
Right.
And the cargo did not go through any selectivity, yellow or red, but green. So they just went and took delivery of cargo. So that is what brought about the disparity in time.
Yes, you mentioned the MPS Terminal 3, you mentioned Golden Jubilee, you mentioned Safe-Bond. And that was going to be my next question. How come there seemed to be some quick clearance over there? apart from the adherence to the trade facilitation provisions that you mentioned, were there any other factors that culminated or that, you know, kind of like allowed that to happen?
If you again look at, I'm sure people who are familiar with the port system know that MPS is a place where cargo vessels discharge cargo, and clearance is also done at MPS.
Right.
But there are cases where discharge of those cargoes require transfer to a different location.
Right.
That is where Golden Jubilee comes in. So when transfer is done, of course, then we are looking at how delayed the transfer has occurred. So in the study, it showed that it took about 4 days from discharge of cargo at MPS and being transferred to the Golden Jubilee terminal. That alone was significant to bring the difference that you are seeing.
Yeah.
So MPS, where we had about on average 8 days, for Jubilee and SafeBond, we had on average 14 days.
Right.
Because of that significant lag in transfer of goods from those terminals to locations.
All right. Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much. Let me come to Vero and find out from you. You didn't seem to have captured the port of Takoradi. What happened?
Thank you. You know, when we were trying to scope the whole collections for the purpose of this study,
yes,
we selected Tema, one seaport, one international airport, one land border for the purpose of petty trading, and one transit exit point. So Tema was chosen.
Right.
KIA, that is Kotoka International Airport, was chosen. Aflao was chosen for petty trading. And then Paga was chosen for cargo transiting from Tema to Paga.
Yes.
So that was done. Tema was chosen over Takoradi because of the volume.
Yes.
Well, Tema takes care about 70%
That's understandable.
of
Absolutely.
the import that comes. So it was right for us to choose Tema. And you know, Tema and Takoradi, they are brothers.
Absolutely, yes.
They have the same similarities.
Yes.
So whatever happens in Tema, automatically or most appropriately, the same thing will also happen in Takoradi. So not because of anything, but because of the steady scope that we have to choose Tema over Takoradi. I mean, Takoradi would have been best for me because it's closer to my hometown.
Okay. All right. So let me come to Diana and find out from you. He mentioned the customs, that's the integrated customs management system, that's the ICOMS. I just want to find out from you whether the study was able to establish whether with the inception of the ICOMS, some improvement had come through, you know, in the clearance chain.
Yes, so as I indicated earlier, this is a baseline study, and it means that that's the first of its kind. So we don't have any benchmark that we are comparing this particular study with.
Yes.
But I would like to say that the integrated customs management system gave us the opportunity to be able to identify all the timestamps easily in the system because of the end-to-end nature of the system. And also, you know, we have the single window model, which is being used by other government agencies.
Yes.
So it was very convenient for us to access the data by being used by data from the other government agencies because it's an end-to-end system. But however, from the next study, because we now have a baseline study, if we are going to do another study, because the integrated custom management system is actually a continuous improvement system for which when there are identification of areas of improvement, we do improve upon it. So we can now compare whether the trade facilitation initiatives that we'll be doing from now on is having an impact on the improvement that we do subsequently. So I think that's what I'll say about whether we are able to compare.
Yeah.
In this case, because we didn't have a baseline study,
right.
we don't have anything to benchmark to. Now is the time. Right. So moving on, we'll be able to measure any trade facilitation initiative that we'll be doing from now on.
Well, undoubtedly, you've mentioned the fact that you work with other agencies, government agencies in the clearance chain and all that. I just want to find out from you whether the study, in a way, pointed to the contribution of some of these state, state agencies to delays in the clearance chain.
Okay, so again, because we have actually implemented the system that allows for you to make this acquire this requirement way in advance of arrival of cargo. The study showed that majority of the cases, people took advantage of that and then they applied, got the regulatory requirements before cargo arrived. In fact, for cases where people did not and waited to do that on arrival, that affected clearance. Right. In the majority of the cases that they took advantage, that did not have a significant impact on the clearance. If you look at the regulatory agencies, there are some applications that will require you to go through multi-government agencies to get it approved, especially for the grants of exemptions. But there are also applications that would require a single government regulatory agency's approval. So, for example, Food and Drugs Authority, PPRSD, Ghana Standards Authority, and any of those government regulatory agencies. In some of those agencies' approval, actually internal processes take time.
Right.
Some takes even up to 11 days. So you would imagine that if you delayed in submitting these applications to them, then it is obvious that your clearance would delay.
Yeah.
But then I mentioned that majority of the cases, people took advantage of the trade facilitation provisions, submitted applications before arrival, and it did not have significant impact on the time of clearance.
What's the level of compliance as far as the trade facilitation provisions are concerned? Because it's been an age-long thing. You've preached it here on several occasions. Customs, GRA, everybody, but people still look adamant in terms of beginning the process to clear the cargo before they arrive. But we have those systems in place where you can begin the process of clearing before the cargo even arrives and all that. Why do we still have this particular situation, lingering on?
So the study revealed that majority of the cases, people took advantage of trade facilitation provisions.
Right.
So it is only for some few occasions that they did not. And we also held a stakeholder session to solicit opinion on some of these issues. But some of the reasons for which some of this delay is because people are not very sure that the cargo is coming. They want to be sure that the cargo has arrived before they put in any financial commitment.
Right.
So when you ask the declarants that are doing the processes for them, they say even if they have done pre-arrival declarations for them, and even give them the advice, they delay in taking decisions because they just want to be sure. The moment you do that, it delays the process.
Yes.
So I think it is more of a stakeholder sensitization, continuous one, so that they begin to have an appreciation of why it is important to do those ones before arrival, so that when it arrives, because there are provisions in a case where you are expecting, say, 4 containers and only 3 has arrived.
Yes.
But you have proceeded to do payment of tax. There is provision to manage the one that is arriving on a different on a different vessel later.
Yes.
So because we have those provisions, we all need to just sensitize the stakeholders more frequently so that they can have an appreciation and take advantage of these pre-shipment provisions.
Is it a situation where we have people who are doubting Thomases because they think that maybe while the container is on the sea, they've jettisoned it or they've thrown it in the sea, so they are not sure it will arrive or something? Because sometimes you are the one that bought your cargo and you know that no matter what, it will arrive. So beginning the process shouldn't be an issue, should it?
You are right, but again, I think more sensitization, because some people have the fear.
Yes.
So long as the fear is there, you need to give them some level of surety. But majority of them are taking advantage.
Before you continue, let me come to Vero or Dinah and find out from if any of you have the document with you, if you can open it so that you give us the times. For instance, we mentioned MPS, which is 8 days, and the others, if we can mention them, you have them off-head?
Yes, we can easily assess it. Which ones do you want?
Just the key ones. The key ones. We mentioned the MPS. We mentioned Golden Jubilee. We mentioned the Save Bond. And if there are any others that you think that are worth mentioning, let's take a look at the times that we take to get the releases from there. But you continue, Smile.
So I mentioned that we have to continue engaging. We do that a lot. In fact, if you go onto our clearance platform, that is the external.unipassghana.gov.ph.
Yes.
There are so much rich information that tells you or guides you what to do.
Right.
Even without you having access to log into the system.
External.unipassghana.gov.ph.
That is a platform used by all external stakeholders to do business on the platform.
And even to do your duty calculation.
Yes, so duty calculation is there. In case you want to have an idea, the system would just ask you basic questions. The classification code and the value of your item, because you bought the item and you know how much you bought it. Once you provide those information, the system tells you how much duty and taxes you are likely to pay. Again, the agencies that are regulating the import, the items you are bringing, the system tells you. So you are able to have all this information, prepare in advance of arrival. So it is more engagement. We have lots of information on the GRA website. We have on our social media handles. There are quite a number of them, but I think that what we have to do is to broadcast all these ones so much more to the public so that they become more aware of the lots of these provisions.
Absolutely. Okay, so do you have it now?
Yes, so what I readily have here is, for example, those who are more compliant, that's the green channel, they are able to clear within 7 days, 11 hours. And those who go through the red and yellow channel clear within an average of 12 days, 4 hours. So it shows that, the study shows that if you are a compliant trader, you are likely to clear 5 days earlier than those who are not compliant, for which we continue to encourage compliant traders. So that's one to easily look at. And for the airport, we had an average of 7 days and 14 minutes. For the average clearance time.
Right.
And within that same space, you have people clearing within a quarter of a day. So in less than 12 hours, you can actually clear your cargo after it has arrived at the airport. And we have the maximum as well.
Right.
So that is that data is available in the comprehensive reports, which will be published on our website.
Yes, I have that of Tema port here, which I'm particular about. It says that's import, PMD DPM. What's that? PMD DPM.
So PMD is pre-manifest declaration, and then DPM is post-manifest declaration. What it implies is that pre-manifest means that you begin to process your goods before the arrival of cargo.
Absolutely, yes.
And the DPM is like you process it after
the
goods have arrived. So before it's moved into inventory. So that's the pre-arrival processing. And then Aflao also was, we recorded Aflao having the least time of clearance, which is less than 3 hours, which is 2 hours, 44 minutes for the petty traders. So
that's
we recorded, we recorded 2 hours, 44 minutes.
All right, so this one, that's a Tema port, average time release for Tema port. It says it takes an average of 10 days, 21 hours, and 17 minutes to release cargo from customs control after berthing. Now, however, the average times for the two locations were, that's MPS, 8 days, 8 hours, and 14 minutes, and Golden Jubilee or Seaborn Car Terminal, 14 days, 4 hours, and 9 minutes. And then, however, in isolated cases, it took a maximum of 53 days, 15 hours and 51 minutes, and a minimum of 17 hours and 5 minutes for cargo to be released out of customs control after berthing. Now it follows with transit, which also takes 13 days and 32 minutes from berthing to release out of the port of Tema. However, in isolated cases, it took at most 52 days, 5 hours and 18 minutes, and a minimum of 2 days, 13 hours and 54 minutes. And, it continues in that order and all that. So we have 8 hours, we have 14 hours. I think you perhaps explained a bit, which has to do with taking advantage of the trade facilitation provisions. Is that what accounted for that lapse or that, disparity between MPS, Golden Jubilee, and then Safe Bond?
Okay. Of course, not entirely the case. Again, you mentioned that when we consider the port of Tema,
yes,
we measured for the clearance regime import. Import into home use, that is those that are being cleared for use in Ghana.
Yes.
Import for transit. And then we also measured export.
Right.
So the case you referred to earlier was that for import. Again, if you put, everybody understands average.
Yes.
Average, the simplest one is when you put observations together and then you divide by the number of observations, right? So we sampled 713 transactions at the port of Tema. When you find the average of that one without where they are being cleared from, whether it is MPS or it is Jubilee or it is Safe Bond, that is what gives you an average time of 10 days.
Right.
But when you come to the specific locations for MPS, that is what gives you the average of 8 days. And then when you go to Safe Bond or Jubilee, that gives you the average time of 14 days. And we explained that the difference that is significant between MPS and Jubilee was because of the time it takes for cargo transfer from those terminals to the Safe Bond terminal or Jubilee terminal for proper processing and clearance.
Absolutely.
So that is what actually contributed significantly to the difference. For transit, again, there is a transfer case from where it has been discharged, which is the MPSA terminal, to the transit terminal for further processes. Majority of our transit cargoes are actually devanned. It means that when the container when the goods are in container and brought to those locations, they remove them from the container into different trucks to convey them to wherever they are going to. So all these processes also had some impact on the time the goods are released for transit at the port of Tema. So that is also a contributing factor.
Right.
So if you look at transit in itself, it took about 8 days for the transit cargo. We measured how long it took up to the exit point, Paga.
Right.
It took 8 days to journey from the port of Tema to the Paga customs exit border for exportation to Burkina Faso or wherever it is going to. So these are some of the things that brought the differences in the time for those the ports of Tema because of the activities that are required in processing consignment.
Okay, so with export, I think export is quite better because I see 1 day, 17 hours and 20 minutes. That's for exporting through Tema. It takes an average of a day, 17 hours and 20 minutes. However, in isolated cases, it took a maximum time of 4 days, 23 hours and 25 minutes, and a minimum time of 2 hours and 37 minutes. So that's for exports. Okay, so let me come to Vero and find out from you what you would need from industry and government to be able to perhaps ensure that you meet your trade facilitation objectives.
Okay, so for these projects, we have been able to carry our stakeholders through up to this time.
Right.
So we just have to encourage them to continue that collaboration with us so that this document will not be one of the documents that you will see in the archives, but something that we are going to implement and then carry through. And we also just need the political will for us to move and move on. So when you get those political will, the collaboration, and you have the money to do it. So our donors, they are just standing by just for us to say, let's go, and then we all move. So that is all that everybody is set for us to carry them through the next phase of this project, which is the implementation of the recommendation.
All right, so she just mentioned the fact that, yes, it shouldn't be another beautiful document, which implementation perhaps would suffer setbacks. And Ghana, that's what we know how to do. We write a beautiful English, we dot all the I's and cross all the T's, and then it looks beautiful, but we just dump it there and there's no action. How are you going to ensure that this document doesn't sit on the shelves, that it works and it helps for the objective for which it was conducted, this study was conducted?
So as she mentioned, we are working together with all the agencies. The beauty of this project was because we're able to carry the stakeholders along. You see, during the initiation stage, we brought all of them in. They had a buy-in from the top down. So when you go to all the government agencies that are so affected by the trade, they all have the buy-in. Especially, in fact, you'll be surprised that right from the VP's level down to our management level, there was serious interest in the project.
Right.
Because the objective is to make the Ghana port a very attractive one. So the commitment is very high. You would notice that during the launch, we brought all the leaders or the managers of all these agencies. They nominated people onto the project. They have been on the project and have contributed to the findings and recommendations. So the buy-in is very high, and we are very optimistic that it will not be one of the documents that will be shelved, but would be implemented. In fact, it was mentioned earlier that for the case of GRA, it was captured in one of us. It's a strategic project for GRA because we want to be more efficient and effective at what we do. And digitization is something that we are not joking with at all.
Absolutely.
So you'll notice that management is very, very interested in implementing the recommendations so that we can actualize the benefits of all this digitization, automation, and everything that we are doing. So there's serious commitment from management.
Awesome. All right, so Smile Agwemenu is a Chief Revenue Officer at the Customs Division, Ghana Revenue Authority, and he's the chairman, the technical chairman for the time release study project, the document we are discussing tonight. Also, we have in the studios Chief Revenue Officer Dinah Ayoko Agbenyega, who's the project manager, time release to the Customs Division, GRA, and also in the studios, Chief Revenue Officer Veronica Boaji, stakeholder manager, time release to the Customs Division, GRA. They are the three officials from Customs Division that we're having the discussion with. We are unpacking the time release study that has been conducted by the Customs Division, and the main objective is to help us measure, engage what time it takes for us to be able to clear goods from the ports through customs, and also to identify bottlenecks that inhibit the smooth clearance or fluid flow of cargo from our ports. We are going for a quick break. When we return, we'll activate the phone lines for you to call in once the discussion continues. Please stay with us.
Guys, now I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really?
Okay,
I come.
Shut up!
Boss, fill my tank with Super XP Raw 95.
Now up with Super XP Raw 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from Goyle.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him. Hey,
Choose Super XP Raw 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for Goyle Super XP Raw 95. Goyle, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, who wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities? When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse. Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the flood have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the high seas, covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance. Oh, Ajima, tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302 246 319 or 0243 690 492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
All right, so welcome back. We have been told that the lines have been activated, so you can call in. The production team has signaled that we can activate the phone line for you to call in. The number to dial is 020-552-8353, 020-552-8353. You can call in and contribute to the discussion. There are some messages that have come through, several of them. This one says, does the nature of cargo play a role in how quickly goods are cleared? This one is from Bobby in Ashaiman.
Do we give responses?
Yes.
For each one?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
it does. We mentioned earlier that there are requirements, regulatory requirements. So there are some cargoes that require multi-agencies to for you to acquire permit from multi-government agencies.
Right.
There are some of them that do not. Again, there are some cargoes that, because of the risk selectivity, requires that they subject it to intrusive physical inspection.
Right.
And for those ones, there is possibility of some level of delay compared with those that are packed at one time, one homogeneous cargo that is packed that it is easy to do an inspection or just go through the scan. So the nature of cargo has some effect on the time it takes for clearance.
Okay. This one is from Benedict in Ashaliboche. He says, don't your guests believe that individual officers' behaviors can delay the release of cargo? Don't your guests believe that individual officers' behaviors to delay the release of cargo can affect the time
Yes. Okay, sorry.
Yes.
One of the things that we also did in a study, so this is a summary you are seeing.
Yes.
The report is very detailed.
Okay.
In fact, it measured the activity of all the stakeholders,
right,
both customs and other government agencies and private.
Okay.
So if you come to customs, where you are supposed to perform an activity, from the time you have started the activity to when you have taken a decision on it,
right,
had been measured. So that is detailed.
Right.
So the aspects where delays came from customs has been revealed in the report.
Right.
The aspects where delay came from other government agencies have also been identified and revealed in the report.
Okay.
Where it is from the private sector, also identified and in the report.
Okay.
So all these ones have been identified, and the recommendations for us to improve on all these service deliveries have also been identified. So yes, of course, that we know some activities of all the stakeholders, customs and other government agencies and private, contributed in some way to delays at the port, but they have all been identified.
Right. Okay. This one says, I heard your officials speak on political will. Specifically, what do they mean by that? And what specific assistance do customs need from government? Agbe in Aplau.
Steve.
Pero you mentioned
the
political will, yes.
It's not political as in our political environment.
Right.
Even internal politics in an organization is the political will for us to implement the recommendation. So the political will, if our top management, for what they have done so far, the good faith that they have exhibited so far, they have the political will for us to go to the next phase of the project, not in terms of the political as in general political, but internal politics as in an organization.
Okay, the commitment to get it implemented. Okay, that's a good initiative by customs. I look forward to the day clearance is less complex and done in a day. This could be a game changer for us and should be maintained. Kudos. This one is from Kudi from Nema. Okay, so I do recall that when the vice president launched the single window thing, you know, I mean, we were talking about 4 hours, you know, to clear goods and all that. When are we going to realize this particular 4-hour thing?
Okay, we mentioned again that, you see, we measured the average time. We measured the minimum time.
Yes.
We measured the maximum time within what we have sampled for study.
Yes.
So again, before, we didn't have any baseline to actually determine that this is what we are doing. These are the improvements that have come as a result of initiatives.
Yeah.
Now, this we are having. But if you look at the detailed report, there are cases where goods have been cleared. We have at the port of the Kotoka International Airport, we have cases where goods have been cleared within less than an hour. Less than an hour. So these things are possible. So what we want to leverage on are those reasons for which these goods have been cleared early enough.
Right.
These are what we have identified and put in the recommendations for implementation. So we are actually doing some level of clearance very early, but then the majority of the cases we are not. But we have the opportunity now, because we have not done some empirical study to identify these reasons for which we are unable to reach those objectives, so that we can improve on those services and get to where we want to go to.
Then let me come to you. How big a deal is this time study thing for the customs division?
It's actually a big deal because this is the time for us to improve upon our processes. And in fact, the deal is implementing the recommendations.
Right.
Because as you asked earlier, the Vice President had given us 4 hours way back 2017.
Yes.
Now we are in 2024. That's about 7 years down the line. Yeah. And after doing this empirical study, we are finding this huge average.
Yes.
So it's actually a big deal for us to move to that 4 maybe not immediately, but the journey of 1,000 miles definitely starts with a step.
Yeah.
So we want to start working towards that 4 hours clearance, and then we'll get there. And that's where we have identified the bottlenecks. Recommendations have been proposed, for which we have developed it into an action plan. And the action plan is such that, as she mentioned earlier, we are moving into that stage where we'll begin to implement the recommendations in the action plan. I think somebody asked that sometimes isn't it about the officers?
Yes.
So we've identified that we actually need to do training. So those are the immediate recommendations that we'll be dealing with.
Right.
We want to immediately start to train officers. We want to train custom house agents.
Yes.
We want to do public education, because I think Small mentioned earlier that we might have to do more sensitizing. Why would you want to wait for your cargo to arrive before you even put in the declaration? Some wait as long as 5 days, even more, before they put in the declaration. Then the goods have arrived. For whichever reasons, it's not going to help in the 4 hours. Because if you have not even put in your documentation for processing, and you've taken 5 days, definitely we already have plus 5 days before we can even, so 4 hours would not be possible for that kind of a client. So we want to do public education. We want to immediately train our officers. We want to do collaboration with the other government agencies. So those are the things that have been developed into an action plan, for which we are going to carry through. And as she mentioned, we are hoping for, in fact, so far we've had commitment from top management.
Right.
And I want to actually give kudos to top management of GRA and Customs, because they have supported us all the way through.
Right.
And that's how come we have come this far. So we believe very positively that this is going to bring a lot of improvement in our business processes, and also to facilitate trade for the importer, and also at the end of the day save costs.
Right.
Because you talk about running costs. I think that was the word for the day.
Yes.
Because even the running cost to the importer daily goes up. So if we are able to save on that, I think it's going to be kudos to everybody as a nation. So, I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. It does. Okay, so I would come to you and find out whether the freight forwarders would have to have a commitment financially as far as this study is concerned. But let me find out from you whether you have a mechanism in place to be able to identify importers who bring in their cargo and do not begin the process, but wait. Maybe there can be a history or a trail for you, for which reason maybe you would want to reach them and educate them and tell them that, no, this is not what they should be. Is there any mechanism for that to happen?
Yes. So again, in the recommendations, a lot of things have been identified for implementation.
Right.
They've come into ways of action. So we have action plans. When you come to the customs division of the GRA, we have a department, we have units that for some of these actions are so identified for them to lead in its implementation.
Right.
So, for example, the policy and programs units of the Council of Division, where I belong, we are responsible for identifying some of these importers who have delays in submitting declarations, or for these clearing agents for which we manage who delay in submitting. So we have mechanisms to identify them, engage with them, and then sensitize them as to how to do things differently.
Right.
So we are leading that particular action for implementation. So these are all, when we go into the implementation of the actions, all these things would be done with.
Okay. Ohima in Tema, one of our regular texters, Pauline, she says, good evening, I am Port. Could you find out from a panelist why Customs is trying to centralize transit valuation so that it's done at the Customs Technical Services Bureau instead? I thought by the time release study, we are trying to save time and thereby reduce cost. If so, why this move? That's a big shot, huh?
So I think the question is out of scope of our discussion, but there is nothing wrong in attempting to.
No, but the steady capture transit. We mentioned transit
Yes.
the other time it takes for us to
Yes.
clear goods at the transit listen. So maybe
if
we would indulge her, yes.
Of course, that please let's understand that management. You see, again, in the application of risk,
Right.
in doing business, management takes certain decisions just to safeguard you and I. So where there are cases that management deems is fit to do things differently, of course, it is because they have done some impact analysis and they have thought this through.
Right.
That is the reason for which management is taking a particular decision. One of the things that we would want to do is to support management and see how this is implemented,
Right.
to see how it will turn out in terms of the objective for which these things are being done.
Right.
It is not entirely the location where applications are being processed. It's all about efficiency. So long as it is going to be done within the specified time, I think everybody will be happy.
Right.
So if management deems it fit to do business in a particular way, we can support management knowing that that is to solve a particular problem. So I am believing that that is the reason for which some of these decisions are being taken.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So can we zoom into some of the recommendations now? Because we don't have enough time left on our hands.
So I think I mentioned earlier a few already,
Right.
but the recommendations have been largely developed into an action plan,
Yes.
for which we have 5 key outputs. And one of the key outputs is to improve efficiency and effectiveness of custom officers in processing of documentation.
Right.
And that includes training of the officers, giving adequate tools that will enhance efficiency and effectiveness of their delivery. And also stakeholder collaboration. We are looking at developing SOPs for areas where we need to do collaboration with other government agencies.
SOP, is that standard operating procedures?
Operating
All right, so you hold your
procedures.
fire, they won't come back, you continue from there. But let's go onto the lines and welcome Kwesi, who's calling us from Tema. Good evening, sir. Hello, Kwesi. Okay, understand is off. So, yes, standard operating procedures.
Yes, so we develop standard operating procedures as to how we are supposed to take certain actions when it's related to clearance. And then we are also looking at improving our connectivity, our network connectivity in terms of infrastructure, network infrastructure.
Right.
Because sometimes, in fact, during the study, it was revealed that sometimes we have challenges with network connectivity, which delays some processes.
Downtime, they call it, yes.
So the network downtime. So we are looking at stepping up some of those facilities at those locations that were identified. And we are also looking at public education,
right?
Like educating the public, especially taking advantage of the pre-arrival processing. And we are also looking at automation of our gate-in and gate-out processes.
Right.
By bringing in a system that the boom is automated and it's automatically updating the icons. So we don't need officers to do some of those activities.
Right.
So that is to mention a few.
A few. All right. Okay, Smile, is there anything you want to add? Or perhaps you would want to tell us whether freight forwarders have any commitments financially as far as this study is concerned?
So commitment financially, not, but commitment because they are also at the forefront of all these particular activities. So we mentioned earlier that we identified stakeholders that are involved in the cross-border trade.
Stakeholders that are involved in the cross-border trade. So I'll come to you. Let's pick Eric from Achaiman and come and you continue with that. Yes. Hello, good evening, sir.
Evening, sir.
Also, Eric, yes. Please shoot.
Yes, so I just want to thank my bosses over there. They are doing a great job that I want to appreciate whatever they are doing, especially Anti-Dina and Anti-Vero.
You are biased, so you are giving the funds to only the women. What about the man?
Personally, I have encounter with them, so at the airport, so I know the kind of work they are doing.
They are doing okay. I get it. Okay.
So yes. what I want to I want to say is about they should also look at the CTSB. I think sometimes delays also coming from there, maybe submission of a declaration. So maybe if they can also look at that side for.
All right.
That's what I want to talk about.
Are you a clearing agent, freight forwarder, or a customs officer?
Yes, I work with Sealand Shipping, so I think they know.
Okay, all right, okay, that's fine. Thank you very much indeed, Derek. We are grateful to you. Yes, so.
As I was saying, we brought them along, the clearing agents, called them the custom house agents.
Yes.
So they are also part of the stakeholders that have been carried along the project. So they have the buy-in. They know what is expected of them, aspects of the recommendations that they are supposed to implement.
Yes.
These are things that we have also met with them and have explained to them. And we'll continue to engage with them so that we ensure that all these things are fully implemented.
Right, right. Okay. So let me come to you, Vero, and find out from you what next after the release has been done. What's the action plan? She mentioned there was an action plan, which the recommendations have been, formulated or put into an action plan for you to follow for effective implementation. So going forward, what should we be expecting?
So, as Dinah said, the recommendation has been grouped into, they have been input into the action plan. So now, from here, we have even started the activities that each sponsor will be able to accommodate, because, it goes with cost.
Right.
So each activity that a sponsor will be able to accommodate, we are starting to have that discussion with them. And then at the end of the day, if even there is no sponsor, GRA is ready to take up everything, because the project is for GRA.
Yes.
So from here, we are moving into the implementation stage, which the team, everybody is ready to move on.
By which time are we expecting effective implementation, swing into action fully? How soon?
Okay, so we are looking at doing stakeholder engagement, because this is actually a maiden document for which we are yet to engage our stakeholders on it.
Okay.
We presented the document for the first time during the World Customs International Customs Day. That was on 26th of January.
Yes.
So we actually looking at towards the end of February, we'll do stakeholder engagement to share the findings with everybody, and then also share copies of the document with them, possible publish it on our website, and then everybody can actually access it.
Right.
And right from there, we move into implementation.
Right.
And our donors, the ones we have been working with so far is a USAID. United States Agency for International Development, for which the project was run by Feed the Future.
Right.
That's Ghana Trade Investment Feed the Future. They were the ones who administered the project.
Right.
And we also had support from Ghana Link Network Services. So the donors have actually identified some of the recommendations for which they want to begin to sponsor implementation. So I think by March, we can begin talking about some of the recommendations, moving into action. And then we can begin to, maybe in the next couple of years, we can do an assessment, and then we'll be talking about maybe not 4 hours, but maybe 3 days for the seaport. And then maybe within a day for the airports, average.
Yes.
And then we...
Few hours for Aplau.
I don't want to be overly ambitious and say that 4 hours from, because if we have an average of 10 days, I don't know whether it will be overly ambitious to just move to. So at least if we are able to slash that by 60%, that will be a lot of achievements. So in Aflao, we are already doing 3 hours, so maybe within an hour for Aflao. So.
Okay. All right, so let me come to Smile and find out from. She mentioned stakeholder engagements, in the lead up to effective implementation. We just want to find out from you what your expectations of the stakeholders would be in your quest to get them to buy in and to have a smooth implementation.
Our expectation is commitment. Of course, we have reiterated the point that because of the way we were able to carry them along the project, we have this commitment from them. So we expect that this commitment will continue. This collaborative effort will continue.
Yeah.
The more we have these ones, then I think we are okay. It's commitment, collaboration that we expect from them.
No, I'm curious. Is there a standard, time frame for clearance of goods? Maybe in the best ports. I mean, what is the ideal time for goods to be cleared? Have you thought about it? Is that something you have worked on?
So we have this what we call some review of literature. What is done at other ports?
Yes.
More especially within the sub-region. Of course, that if you look at those who have published their clearance time,
yes,
we have for Gambia.
Yes.
And we have done better than Gambia, of course. Even though Gambia is a small country and the volumes of import is way fewer than ours,
yes,
we have done significantly better than them. If you compare with the neighboring countries again, we have actually not done bad. We've actually done way better.
I thought you would have been mentioning Togo, Lomé,
that's it. But
Côte d'Ivoire, Nigeria.
Because they have not conducted and published.
Okay.
The most important is that they have conducted and published. We are not able to compare. But if they have conducted and published, then we could compare and say, comparatively, we have done this better, or this is how we have performed compared with them.
Right.
So we can speak to those countries that they have conducted and published. Within the sub-region, what have been identified is that of Gambia.
Right.
We have other countries at other locations. But of course, it depends on the type of transaction or the port.
Right.
So we mentioned that if you come to the port of Aplau, where we do more of petty trading,
right,
the clearance time is under 2 hours.
Yes.
That is not a bad time for clearance at all.
Yes.
Especially if you look at all the activities so involved. And there are some activities that actually causes the delay.
Right.
Is the activity that depends on the person bringing the goods, where you are required to go and do payment.
Right.
Even though we have implemented lots of solutions for which you can do payment using your phone, some people still go through some hurdle in looking for funding for payment and for other things.
Right.
So these are things that we have identified for implementation in the recommendation. But if you compare us with those countries that have published, it is not that we have done worse of them.
Yeah.
We have compared fairly to those that have been published.
Okay. All right. I think we have just under 1 minute to go. Are there any acknowledgements you would want to make? Perhaps those that have contributed to getting this thing done.
Yes, I think I mentioned
USAID.
A few. So I like to talk about the project owner. The project owner for the time release study is Deputy Commissioner retired Mr. Bafo Asari.
Okay.
So he was the one who was behind us all,
right,
and the project team was adequately able to execute. Right. I also want to thank the project team.
Right.
We are not just the project team. We are just the maybe now managers, but we have a lot of young guys behind the scene who are always in the engine room. Sometimes we wake up to midnight and even up to early morning. And it's all because of the commitment of the team. So I'd like to congratulate all of them for a good job done.
Awesome.
And Ministry of Trade, they've always been with us all the way, and all the other government agencies. Okay. We also have our internal stakeholders, that's our officers. So all the processes that were identified during the stakeholder mapping, we had our internal officers also being part of it. So it's actually a joint effort.
Absolutely.
From internal and external stakeholders.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. Chief Revenue Officer Dina Ayoko Agbenyega, Project Manager, Time Release Study, Customs Division, Ghana Revenue Authority. I say big thanks to you too. Chief Revenue Officer Brenuka Abuaji, Stakeholder Manager, Time Release Study, Customs Division, GRA, and indeed Chief Revenue Officer Smile Agbe Menu, who is the technical chairman at Time Release Study Project, Customs Division, Ghana Revenue Authority. Tonight we've been discussing the time release study by the Customs Division. It measures or gauges the time of release of imports from customs at the ports and points of entry, and it also identifies some bottlenecks that impedes the fluid flow of goods at the ports in terms of clearance. And so this is what we've been discussing. You've heard them. The way forward is that they would do a stakeholder engagement, and then that will lead to the effective implementation of that particular document. We are grateful to you, gentlemen and ladies, for obliging us this evening. This has been Eye on Port. We entreat you to keep watching the rest of our programs here on Metro TV. Remember, the abridged version of Eye on Port will be aired on Ghana Television on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Make a date and watch that. My name is Kennedy Mona. God willing, next week Sunday we shall bounce back with another wonderful edition of Eye on Port. We thank you so much and wish you a very super week ahead. God bless us all.
Metro TV. Inside